finance from Punjabi University, Patiala. His area of specialization is behavioral finance and business analytics, and he has a teaching experience spanning over 17 years. And one which makes him quite unique in our country is he is a certified trainer of Smart PLS software from Northern Institute of Technology, Technical University of Hamburg, Germany. He has a number of publications, which include Scopus publications in national and international journals like Asia Pacific Journal of Tourism Research under Taylor Francis, Qualitative Research in Financial Markets under Emerald, Qualitative Research in Organizations and Management again under Emerald, Journal of Management Development, Global Business Review under Sage Publications, so on and so forth. And because of his rich research experience and contribution, he is now the guest editor of International Journal of Business and Globalization and Journal of Content, Community and Communication, Amity University, Gwalior. And as I was mentioning, he has successfully conducted a number of research methodology workshops, especially on Smart PLS and also on SPSS MOS in various universities across the country, some of which include Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, Punjabi University, Patiala, Amity University, Noida, Chhattisgarh, Kolkata, Gwalior, University of Jammu, Kurukshetra University, and many other institutes of repute. And all these workshops, many of these have been sponsored by the developers of Smart PLS from Sweden and Germany. And in the last few years, more than 50 national and international webinars on Smart PLS have been conducted by him over various platforms across India, as well as neighboring countries like Nepal, Thailand, and also faraway countries like UAE, Philippines, Oman, and Hong Kong. So with these few words, I welcome and hand over the session to Dr. Shiva. Dr. Shiva, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Avik, for your kind words, and I'll try my best to all the participants to enable them to understand what we are going to do today and what we will conclude tomorrow in this lecture. Right. So my topic is actually different from the valuation part. You must. I have seen the contents, and the contents are exactly on the accounting as well as for the valuation part of the corporations. But this topic will be on the major focus will be on the investor. You will see that in marketing, the most important criteria, the most important observation of any company is the consumer. So if HR people are involved, they must realize that the individual in the organization is the most important organ in the organization. I mean, without individuals, you cannot work. And without consumers, you cannot survive in the market. And without investor, maybe it is foreign institutional investor, maybe it is retail individual investor. You have to realize the power of the investor who is going to invest his hardcore money into the stock markets. Either he is investing money into mutual funds or the individual is investing money into stock market. So when somebody is investing money in the stock market, that means his saving is going on into the economy, and it is dealing with the capital formation in the economy that somebody is investing, and that money will be utilized by the corporations into their buying their fixed assets. So when we know that investor is an important aspect in finance, when we know that if banking corporations are to take care of their you can say business, if a bank has to take care, let us say I am HDFC Bank, for me my consumer is the most important aspect. The person who is doing FD with my bank is very important. The person who is buying my credit card is the most important individual in the bank. The person who is taking car loan from my bank is a very important instrument in my bank. If somebody is taking home loan from my organization, that individual is very important. If I am talking about insurance, if somebody is taking insurance from you, the person is very important individual for you because he is giving you the money in terms of premium. Okay, in insurance, if 100 people are taking insurance, it doesn't mean that 100 will die. It means that if life insurance is taken, out of 100, 10 may die, but 90 will give you the premium. So Even if you are talking about banking, even if you are talking about insurance, you talk about mutual funds, all the aspects are dependent upon one being, one important thing, that is human being. Me, you, we are important. So this topic is actually related to segmenting or identifying the individuals who think like-minded. Okay, a banker must understand why a person is taking home loan from me and in which aspect of the economy he's taking loan from me. If there is pandemic and there is a requirement of you can say home loan, you can imagine that the money is very surplus money with that individual, despite the fact being that pandemic is going on, the person is giving a demand in the economy. So you have to realize that these kind of people must be identified in one cluster. Okay, your policy, your approach for these people must be different from those people, those who are not bringing any demand during the pandemic. So if you are looking at that the economy is going down, let us say recession is going on, okay, or you can say the slowdown is going on. When the slowdown is going on, in that zone, who are bringing the demand for your product or for your service? If you are offering a service, let us say Tata consultancy services, if somebody is looking for services when the slowdown is going on, identify that like-minded people, identify those like-minded people, and then make a cluster of those people, and then make a policy on those people. So this topic is actually on identification of the various clusters of the individual. This individual can be investor, this individual can be a consumer, this individual can be your human resource in the organization, this individual can be your consumer for the bank, this consumer can be consumer of our insurance services, and for any product or any services. We cannot say that one suit fits all. If our approach is that one suit fits all, forget about any business profit which you are going to make. You must target appropriate segment with appropriate strategy. So in this regard, when we were doing research, we actually got to know, this topic is basically from Philip Kotler. Philip Kotler's book on marketing management. Everybody must have heard that segmentation, basically they are of four types. Okay, let me just share the screen and then we will understand that where we are heading into. Okay, so I guess if Abhik sir, if you can remove me from the major role, because the pop-up windows are coming for admission, right? So let me just share my screen. First of all, we will narrow down our research into that particular area, then I will start my lecture. Okay, so just see the screen. I'll need somebody to confirm whether the screen is visible for the whiteboard or not. Whiteboard is visible, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, it is visible.
Visible.
Okay, so
And it is
listen.
full screen as well. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So listen carefully, because this topic is not for any specific finance domain. This is for all the individuals, whichever domain you are coming, whether you are a psychologist, whether you are into public administration, whether you are a library in charge, maybe you are a librarian. For you as a librarian, you must segment the students. Which students are coming to take the fiction books from your library? Which students are coming to take the textbooks for a particular, you can say, subject? Which segment, which cluster is coming in your library to a particular area of reference books? So a political science, the person who is doing political science, also a politician, also must segment and classify the respondent, those who are going to vote them. So ultimately, this topic of segmentation is a very, very important aspect, and this is based upon that segmentation. Everybody must have heard that segmentation is of four types. Either we divide the people, those people might be any, okay, investor, consumer, or HR. We can divide on the basis of geographic segmentation. In the books, in the Philip Kotler's marketing management, you will find a chapter on segmentation, and you will see that a very thick topic is given on geographic segmentation. Let us say the eastern part, east, west, north, south. The characteristics of South Indian is slightly different from the characteristics of the North Indian. I am North Indian, I belong to a city like Chandigarh, while Abhik sir is from the West Bengal. So there is a slight difference in the taste and the preferences and the buying behavior and the pattern of consumer spending as far as the North Indian and East Indian is concerned. Okay, so geographically, if you want to segment the individual, that is the first aspect. Second is the demographic. The demographic profile of the individual can be identified, let us say, on the basis of gender. Gender is male and gender is female. So you can identify the individuals on the basis of these demographic profiles also. The third one is called as psychographic. Psychographic. For those who are into the marketing zone, they are actually going to relate to this topic. But the persons, those who are from other fields, they must listen carefully that how we divide the people. How we divide the people. Even in a classroom, if the classroom is offline classroom, a teacher has the point of view. A teacher has the point of view for the class. Who are backbenchers? Who are backbenchers? And who are sitting in the front rows? Now, generally, the behavior of the students, those who are sitting in the front rows, they are, studious kind of students. The students, those who are sitting in the back benches, they are actually notorious kind of students. So the approach and the policy of the teacher and the behavior of the teacher changes according to the students in the front row and according to the back benchers, right? So similarly, an industry must know how the people are divided on the basis of geographically, demographically, or psychographically. Now, psychographic profiling is like on the basis of lifestyle. Lifestyle. Let us say affluent lifestyle. Okay, so this is one of the aspect that we can divide the people on the basis of lifestyle. And the fourth one is called as behavioral. Behavioral means that I want to divide on the basis of attitude of the people. Now, attitude of the people might be their positive attitude, might be people are having negative attitude. So when we know that these are the four types, so we must realize that this segmentation, which has been given way back in the books, and we are reading this segmentation, whenever the theories were given for the segmentation, all these are called as observed heterogeneity. All these called as observed heterogeneity. Hetero means that the persons who are male are different from females. If I have 400 respondents of male and 150 females and my total responses are 650, the behavior of males are different, the behavior of females are different. We have to understand, is there any significant difference between males and females? Or the behavior of west side of India and the east side of India, is there any significant difference between the behavior of western zone of India and the eastern zone of India? How people in north zone is different from the people of southern zone? Okay, how is the lifestyle of the people in a city like Delhi NCR? Now the respondent, those who are residing in Delhi NCR, is totally different from somebody who is living in Shimla. So you can understand that psychographic profiling also tells you that whether people are living in hills like Shimla and they are living in the plains what? Metropolitan cities, metro cities. So somewhere down the line, we call it as an observed heterogeneity. It is an observed phenomena. East, west, north, south is observed phenomena. We know that this happens. We know that somebody is coming from Europe and somebody is coming from America. The behavior of Europeans are different. And in case if I have to divide that the behavior of European, the culture is feministic culture. Females work more in Europe. And there is another country like USA. There is, you can say, hire and fire. Male chauvinistic culture is more over there in USA, and the culture of Japan is totally different. Now we know that this is geographic segmentation and how people behaves. This is actually an observed heterogeneity kind of a thing. Observed means males are known to us that this individual is a male. It is observed heterogeneity, and the cluster is of males, the another cluster is of females, and the cluster of East India is concerned, the cluster of West India is concerned. So whatever strategy you are making, whatever policy you are driving, the policy has to be customized according to different clusters. You cannot say that the people of Delhi are similar to people of Shimla. The lifestyle of affluent and the poor people are same. No, we cannot say. Our approach to handle affluent people is different. Our approach to handle middle income group is different. Our approach to positive attitude piece person to my product is different. Now this, we call it as observed heterogeneity, which are available in the books, and in abundance you will find this observed heterogeneity. But today we are not going to do observed heterogeneity. I am taking you to the fifth dimension, to the fifth dimension of segmentation. Fifth dimension of segmentation, and interestingly, this was given way back in the year 2000, and this approach was coined in the year 2002. Okay, and this concept of fifth dimension is called as response based. It is called as response based segmentation. You know what is response based segmentation? The response of individual, those who are living in West Bengal, is different. The response of people, those who are living in Assam, their response might be different. Or if I have to say, the response of persons, those who are living in Chandigarh, you will get multi-dimensional people. You will understand this thing that in Chandigarh, multi-varied states, people are living, people are employed, people are given jobs in the head office of the Chandigarh, and people are having a multicultural aspect in the Chandigarh. So their response is different, because Chandigarh is a city where service class lives more. But if I have to see the city of Ludhiana, which is an industrial town, so despite the fact that it is geographic segmentation, but the response of the person in Chandigarh is different, the response of industrial town people are different. We have to understand that if my consumer is coming in a bank, his response matters to me. His gender doesn't matters to me. Gender might be that females are more affluent, females are more aggressive, females might be more educated. I am not concerned about gender. Now these days I am concerned about what is the response of my consumer, how my consumers are responding. I mean, it is the pandemic which we have seen that it is a blessing in disguise for many corporations. For many corporations, what was the response? Some people think that pandemic is a very bad thing, but the companies like telecommunication, you see that how broadband connections has been sold. The response of the persons, the response of the individuals has totally changed. The persons, the people, the consumer were never thinking of installing Wi-Fi at home, but now everybody has the Wi-Fi connection. Everybody has the Wi-Fi connection because kids are studying from that Wi-Fi connection. Persons are doing the job from that Wi-Fi connection, and the classes are going on, and interaction is through with Wi-Fi. So the response matters a lot. This is the fifth dimension, and this response is not a recorded response. I'm writing it here. It is not a recorded, and this is not observed behavior. This fifth dimension of response-based segmentation is called as unobserved heterogeneity, which is the need of the hour to understand heterogeneity. So valuation of the corporation is what is the profile of you can say chartered accountant or somebody who is into the accounting and finance. You need to understand how to value a firm, how to value shares, or you can realize the fact that valuation will leads to the good market capitalization. That is another domain. But I need to understand, if I have to float an IPO, what will be the response of the investors to my IPO? I must realize that I am going to detect unobserved heterogeneity. Okay, I have to realize that I have to dig out unobserved heterogeneity, and this unobserved heterogeneity was the phd thesis of Dr. Marco Arstedt. Dr. Marco Arstedt, he is a professor in Munich. But when he was doing his guide gave him this topic that look, you have to now give a thesis on unobserved heterogeneity. So he gave a concept which is called as finite mixture. He gave this concept, and he is a German, and he gave this sentence, this word finite mixture, which is now known to the word which is called as phemics. This is not given in Philip Kotler. Now, this is given in the books of PLS, and they are the ones, those who are giving a newer dimension that as an individual, as a company, I must see that observed behavior is this. I'm showing you again this slide of observed behavior. The observed behavior is known to us, but we have to dig out the unobserved pattern of my consumer, of my investor, or whatever you are investing. If you are dealing with human beings, behavioral finance is totally dependent upon how human beings behave and whether people behave irrationally. Okay, standard finance like Eugene Fama, capital asset pricing model, all these models are based upon the assumption that consumers, that investors are rational. But Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky and Richard Thaler, Harsh Shafrin, these are the people, they are the pioneers of behavioral finance. They are saying that investors behave irrationally. So how that irrational behavior is going to be observed? It is through this unobserved heterogeneity, and this is done through finite mixture phemics. So phemics is the one which we are going to learn in this workshop today and tomorrow. We must execute, we must know how to determine, we must know how to apply phemics, but first of all, we must know what is phemics. I am now taking you to another gravity of this scenario, why this topic is so important for you. Can everybody see this scopus.com?
Yes,
Scopus.com.
yes, it is visible, clearly visible.
Right. So this Scopus is the database from where everybody must do the research. Always ignore Google Scholar, the search of research from the Google Scholar. I mean, it is a search engine. It might give you a very ordinary journals also, which are predatory maybe. Number two, they might not be into Scopus. I mean, Scopus is a database where people like Emerald, publisher like Science Direct, everybody stores their top quality of the papers. So this screen which you are observing has an institutional access. So my university has given this institutional access. We have this institutional, so we can open this storehouse from the Scopus, that how many people in the world has written on phemics. How many people in the world has written on phemics, and that too on quality is recorded in Scopus. So right now in next 4-5 minutes, you will be shocked to see that how many people are working. So I am searching the document phemics, finite mixture, inverted commas closed. This is the way somebody has to search, that tell us that in this Scopus database, how many people have done unobserved heterogeneity. I mean, they have created the cluster on the basis of response of the respondents and not on the basis of demographic, geographic, psychographic, or behavioral. So if I click on search, you will see that total papers in the world is only and only 54. Isn't it surprising? It is surprising that in the, now these are the papers, these are those 54 papers that Marco Arstedt is the lead author. Now in the year 2022, in Journal of Business Research, which is an A category journal, it is the top most, preferred journal to read. In 2022, Professor Marco Arstedt and Christian and Ringel, they wrote a paper on bibliometric analysis, that we are the ones, those who have given this concept, but who are other people? Those who have applied phimics. Those who have applied phimics. So let me just open this abstract for you. You will see that they have done a bibliometric analysis, that how many people have applied phimics, unobserved heterogeneity, and interestingly they have done a systematic review of phimics application. And I have read this paper, so I am telling you that only 39 people out of 54, only 39 people have written on unobserved heterogeneity. And on those 39 papers, they have done bibliometric analysis. And journal is not an ordinary journal, it is the top journal. So when we know that this is a very, very important activity, and out of 54, if 39 are others, out of 54, the 15 papers are written by themselves, the authors themselves, Marco Arstedt and Christian and Ringel. So this is the way somebody has applied. Look at this individual, Majid Ghazmi. Majid Ghazmi has applied phimics in the higher education. The journal name is Higher Education, and he has written that how scholars are predicted by their emotion, job performance, work events, workplace features, and they have been divided into groups to determine the aspect of job satisfaction. So the individual has, Majid Ghazmi in Malaysia, he has applied phimics in the domain of higher education. And in education, Majid Ghazmi again wrote in 2021. Another one is the individual Ibrahimi. He has written in sustainability on the consumer purchase behavior. Look at the consumer purchase behavior. This is important, that e-commerce and online retail in Hungary. Another papers are in Malaysia. This paper is in Hungary, and they have applied phimics, unobserved heterogeneity. This is the phimics approach, that how people are different. What is the consumer behavior patterns? Okay, on the social media. So if people have done this thing, you can also do this thing. We are actually, these days we are working on from the Indian side, that since my area is behavioral finance, so I am working on investors segmentation using unobserved heterogeneity. Maybe it will come in the future, but right now we are working. So I want to apprise you first that why this topic is important for you, and there is a lot of scope. When we know that there are only 54 individuals in the world, you can be the 55th, you can be the 57th individual. So this is already a research gap in the academic literature, when Scopus itself is saying that look, we have only 54 papers on unobserved heterogeneity. Now Majid Ghazmi is the individual, and P. Ibrahimi, they again have written in 2021. So very few people, those who know how to apply, are applying. Somebody is applying in transportation research, how passengers satisfaction is different. Unobserved heterogeneity in satisfaction level of the passenger with air and rail integration services. We know that we have to catch hold of a Shatabdi from Chandigarh to Delhi, and then from Delhi we can take a flight to Munich. So air and rail integration services in passenger satisfaction of India can be done. This individual P. Ibrahimi is again writing in the area of customer relationship management. Now you see that the authors are repeated time and again. When you know that it is very important. So somebody is on hospital, so hospital is also P. Ibrahimi is writing. So one individual is common. Look at another paper, P. Ibrahimi, social media adoption. So one individual is common, and they are the ones, those who are leading the show. So let us gear up to this aspect of how to identify the finite mixture, how to identify clusters on the basis of response of the respondents. Participants, all of you must lend your ears to now this presentation, that we are opening a new chapter which is not available in Philip Kotler's marketing management but in PLS books. And these are the 54 papers. I will download, I am going to download all these 54 papers for you, and I will share with Dr. Abik. He will share with you. I am exporting this 54 papers, and you will get all the information right away that who are working in this domain. Now let me just export. So I am exporting total 54 papers. This Excel has been downloaded in my laptop. I will share it to the organizers. Like, so Scopus list is there with me. As you can see that in the download section, all these 54 are now listed. So Dr. Marco has then applied bibliometric analysis on this 39 papers. He has left his own papers, 15 papers, and he has done bibliometric analysis on these papers. These are the title of the paper, these are the name of the papers, and they are chronologically organized 2022. And look at the time zone. Since 2010 itself, the papers are being published. So there is very, very new door which we are going to open today. Absolutely new door which we are going to open, and this door was opened in 2010, and in the books and in some of the research papers this topic was there in 2000, but the thesis of Marco happened in 2006 and the paper are starting coming in the year 2010. So let us now understand that how to estimate segment according to the response given by the individuals. If I'm telling you that I am selling Orient fans, how people are responding? How people are responding to Orient fans? You have to identify. I mean, what you are thinking in your mind, that I have to predict, because you are behaving according to your subconscious and the you can say conscious mind. Okay, whatever is cooking in your unconscious mind is coming in the subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is responding to your conscious mind. I have to divide the individuals on that subconscious and conscious mind. This is response based segmentation. So let us see that what is there in the advanced. This is actually a very advanced topic of unobserved heterogeneity, and there are only 3 books till date. There are only 3 books on PLSM. One book is the Basic Primer 2015. This slide which you are looking, this is second book which is on advanced book on PLSM. This was published in 2017, and the third book has arrived in the market here at all on the primer of PLSM in 2022. So there are only 3 books. The book number 1 and book number 3, they are on basics. Book number 2 is still selling like hotcakes in the world. And this second book is the advanced version of PLSM. In that advanced version, the chapter number 5 is unobserved heterogeneity. So we have extracted this chapter from there and prepared a capsule format to the respondents. That is why 1.5 hour is sufficient to digest this capsule. So when we say unobserved heterogeneity, it is existing beyond the variables. Somebody says that I like to use iPhone. I like to use, okay, the ease of use is there. I find some utility in my iPhone. That means you have some perceived usefulness. My attitude is positive towards iPhone. Yes, you have a positive attitude, and I am having an intention to buy another iPhone. That means you have a behavioral intention, and I am actually using the iPhone. So you have the actual usage. These are existing in the literature, but we are going to dig out what is not fully captured by the observed variables. Observed variables are there. But how people are talking about perceived usefulness, how people are talking about perceived ease of use, how people are thinking about attitude, how people are behaving on these variables, this is unobserved heterogeneity, because generally theory does not assume heterogeneity whether it exists or not. Okay, theory says demographic segmentation, theory says geographic segmentation, but theory doesn't assume that there will be heterogeneity which doesn't exist. But we have to capture that unobserved heterogeneity by identifying groups in the data. I mean, if I say now backbenchers and the front benchers, there is always a phenomena how students behave. A student might behave like a topper sitting in the backbenchers. A student who is studying in the front rows might be a poor student because his eyesight is very weak. That is why he's sitting in the front benches. So his response is different. Possible, na? It is possible, na, that somebody who is sitting in the front benches might not perform well.
Yes, yes.
So we have to see his response. So his response, the individual's response, is what we are going to capture. This is unobserved heterogeneity. So my research scholars, now I have instructed my research scholars that the thesis objective will be to capture the unobserved heterogeneity of, if somebody is doing research in finance, it is investor. Those who are doing research in marketing, unobserved heterogeneity of consumer. Now, if somebody is doing it in pharmaceutical companies, you can divide the consumers according to the pharmaceutical sectors and the product of pharma companies. Like Sun Pharma, their products are like bodybuilding kind of a products. How the gym instructors are behaving to the products of Sun Pharma. Sun Pharma might be interested into knowing this unobserved behavior, which is not existing. I mean, the gym owner in a village, the gym owner in a rural belt, and gym owner in a semi-urban area might behave differently. Okay, although the practice is the same, the bodybuilding activities are the same, but the responses are different. So the product has to be sold, and product has to be sold according to the psyche of the individual. And we have to identify how people are giving response. So in the academic world, which is coming ahead in the next 10 years, you will see that right now we are talking about only and only phimics. I mean, even this phimics is a new dimension. 54 papers are there in phimics. So the next dimension is distance-based segmentation. And in the coming times, right now, academic literature has not given PLS IRRS approach. So they are all IT-based and highly advanced topics which are not yet fully explored in the world. They will come in the year, you can expect 2024, 25, 2030. You can expect that these things are going to come ahead in the future. But right now, the door which has been opened in 2010 is just opened by only 54 people in finite mixture. So we are going to visit that particular door today. So when I say that we are going to make a cluster, okay, so cluster is also available in SPSS. Why we need to do phimics? And what is the difference between cluster analysis K-means in SPSS, and what is the difference between the fifth type of segmentation in finite mixture in smart PLS? The phimics is to be done in smart PLS software. This K-means can be done in SPSS. So you need to realize where and why K-means cluster is having some shortcomings. So we have identified, and we have identified from these literature view, that what is difference between K-means cluster, why K-means clusters should not be used, and why you should look into for this phimics procedure in the coming times. Actually, K-means cluster, this algorithm is dependent upon the centroid. Let me show you the centroid, what centroid looks like. Can you see that in the cursor, where my cursor is moving, in the green cluster, in the orange cluster, and in the blue cluster, there is a central point of this cluster with a black dot, isn't it? This is called as, there are three clusters and everybody is centered towards its mean. This is the group centroid. This is the group centroid. So K-means cluster is dependent upon the number of centroids, and then they allocate that who is close to this centroid. Let us say this person, look at my cursor, this individual is near to this mean. It is farther from the centroid of blue, the centroid of orange. So who is close to a particular centroid mean is allocated to that cluster. So this is K-means cluster. K-means cluster decides what is the group mean, what is the group mean, and who is close to that particular group mean. The farther I am from the group mean is the one who belongs to another group. So I have to divide the individual investor or the people according to their group centroid. This is K-means cluster. And it computes the centroids and iterates until we find the optimal centroid. I mean, it tries to make an optimal solution. It never gives the final solution. It never gives the final solution. It gives an optimal solution that this person belongs to the green cluster. This person doesn't belong to blue cluster, and it is purely dependent upon the group centroid. Who is nearer to the group centroid? Who is farther to the group centroid? The goal of K-means is to divide the individuals in a non-overlapping subgroups. What is non-overlapping? Just see. Now this individual might be close to this blue cluster. This individual might not be close to this green cluster. So who will decide? The proximity will decide. The proximity of the individual belongs to this group will decide. And they try to create non-overlapping subgroups. I mean, I will not say that this individual belongs to both groups, blue as well as green, because it is in the middle of blue as well as green. It tries to make the optimal you can say group data points. And there are few, I mean, critical point why we should not use K-means cluster, why we should go for this Fimix, because K-means assume that all the variables are spherical. All the variables are spherical like this, K-means. Okay, I mean, the group centroid is determined, and the persons, those who are close to that group centroid, they create a sphere out of that clusters. They assume that this is the group. I mean, this is tentative line of the observation. Then you try to prepare the sphere for a cluster number 1, cluster number 2, cluster number 3. It creates a sphere on the basis of group centroid, and then it shows you that the people in green are different, the people in blue are different, the people in orange are different. And the worst assumption of K-means is it assumes that every variable has the same variance. How can we assume this thing? How can we assume this thing that everybody will have same variance? I mean, in a family itself, the brother and sister, if the family has 3 kids, every kid is a different kid. Huh? You cannot say that all kids are having same variance. My family is there, so my family has 3 kids. I will never say that all students, all my kids are same. The variance of all the variables are different. So this is another invalid assumption on the basis of which people are applying K-means cluster. And the third is the probability of all the clusters are same. I mean, how can we assume that the probability of all the clusters are same? They might be different. Even though there are 3 clusters, but the people here might behave differently. They might not behave according to this particular cluster. They are close to their group mean. They are close to their group mean, but they might be different. So you need to understand that when these are the 3 critical observations and assumptions, if any of the 3 assumptions is violated, K-means clustering will fail. I mean, The clusters are spherical. Every variable has same variance. Every cluster has the prior probability that every cluster has roughly equal number. I mean, equal number, how can we say that green are 110, this is also 110, this is also 110? It may happen that the persons in blue cluster might be 420, and the persons, those who behave similarly in green, are 170, and the persons, those who are in the orange, might be 80. It may happen that 80 people think differently, and 40 people think differently, and 190 people think differently. So K-means assume that roughly they are equal in all the clusters, which generally don't happen. So that is why I have seen that because of this drawback, you must shift to the segmentation aspect. You must shift your target that when k-means can handle and the numerical data only, Phimix can handle non-numeric data also. It can handle interview also. 10 people have given interview, and you can analyze that how their interview, I mean qualitative data, can be divided into. K means the user has to specify that divide into 3 cluster, 4 cluster, 5 cluster, or 6 cluster. The user, it is not the user, it is not me, it is not the researcher, it is not the company who has to divide the individuals. It is the behavior of the people which has to be divided by us. People are different. I should not say that look, people are according to male and female are different. Male and female may behave similarly to a beauty product. It is, I have to understand how they are purchasing, when they are purchasing, with which frequency we are purchasing. Even a product like Fair and Lovely, males might be equal buyers of Fair and Lovely, which females are also buying. So can I say that female and male differ in the Fair and Lovely product? No, I should not say. How can we say that user has to specify that divide the data into male and female? Now I will make a strategy for male into Fair and Lovely, female into Fair and Lovely. I should not say this thing. No? That is why K-means has the drawback. So K-means gives optimum clusters. It never guarantee any convergence. There is no guarantee that these clusters are good. These are optimal solutions. They are optimal solutions. And this is the last thing to discuss, that if there is an outlier in the group, maybe in the green cluster, there is an individual who is actually not fitting into that group. Look at this cursor, my right hand side of my screen, and look at the cursor where I am moving my cursor. This individual is an outlier. This individual looks like to be into the green, but it actually never happens to be part of the green cluster. It is actually not near to green, not near to orange, and it is the farthest from the blue cluster. Somebody has to mute. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have muted him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you can continue.
Right. So just see if in your data set, I mean, the company has collected data of 10,000 respondents, and in 10,000 respondents, there are some people who behave 100% irrationally. So they individuals are called as outliers. They are actually not behaving into a particular group. They are actually not dealing. And when such outliers are there, the mean of the group centroid of the cluster changes. K means is sensitive to the outliers, and if there are outliers, the K means clustering will give you incorrect respondents, incorrect response, incorrect clusters. And it always happens that there are outliers. Outlier is an individual. Outlier is not the data. Outlier is the human being who is behaving totally irrationally into the buying of the product. I mean, somebody can purchase an Audi car. Maybe he has the capacity to buy 11 lakh rupees of car, but he has gone irrationally to purchase an Audi car and his EMI is now 40,000 per month. So he might behave irrationally. Then how can you say that my policy, my strategy has been working fine because he was having a budget of 11 lakhs? I mean, entire policy goes wrong. So response matters a lot. Response matters a lot. The person who is selling Honda car or Hyundai, they might be thinking about targeting the consumer, but the consumer belong to Audi. So KMEs never takes into account such outliers. That is why that is why people are now switching over to unobserved heterogeneity, which is called as FIMIX. And this was the paper. Professor Hahn was the person who gave in 2002 in Schmellenbeck Business Review Journal that he said that why not to do response-based segmentation? Somebody must do response-based segmentation, and that too in PLSM, partial least square SEM. So the approach arrived in the market, FIMIX, partial least square, to uncover the unobserved heterogeneity, and the clusters are prepared which are unknown and which are based upon their response. So forget about demographic, geographic, forget about psychographic, behavioral, think about response based. Then you prepare appropriate policy, because these days consumer is the king and his response has to be identified by us, and we are going to cover this unobserved heterogeneity on the basis of, you can say, the behavior of the respondents, and not on the basis of attitude, behavioral intention or actual usage, but on the basis of their response pattern, how people are responding. So FIMIX is a very scientific method, because KMS give tentative idea, FIMIX gives you scientific idea. And for that scientific idea, that how many segments will be created, we have to dig out the information and classification criteria. So our major focus will be on information and classification criteria. This classification criteria is the scientific method to identify outliers also into your data set. If you have collected data for 450 respondents, it is your duty to understand how 450 people are behaving differently. I mean, you cannot say that I have done thesis with 450 respondents. You must say that even in this 450 people, how 200 people were different, how 50 people were different, and how 150 people were different. So segments you have to divide, and you have to run your PhD thesis thrice if there are 3 segments. People do it on 450 or 500 respondents, but you must dig out the appropriate number of segments on the basis of information and classification criteria. In standard finance, Akaika information criteria, Schwarz information criteria, Hanen Quinn information criteria, the persons, those who are actually into the standard finance, they have heard these, you can say, information criteria. But these information criteria are now being used in management discipline in behavioral sciences. That is why in behavioral finance, nobody has written any paper, even out of those 54 papers. None of the individual in the world has written in the area of behavioral finance to divide the response-based pattern on FIMIX. So we are the ones, those we will be trying to dig out, we will be writing on this FIMIX for behavioral finance domain. So if the faculty is from finance, think about that how people are responding to an IPO. Your valuation has been done by your, you can say, even actuarial valuation is there, or in insurance actuarial valuation is there. How people are behaving to the actuarial valuation, how investor in the market behave to the valuation done by the PricewaterhouseCoopers for a particular company. That is what we are learning in this workshop. That valuation has been done. It is a mathematical exercise, but ultimately valuation is done for whom? It is done for the investors. Look, this is the valuation in my company and this is what I am giving the indicators in the market. Ultimately, it is the investor who is going to read the valuation part, that what is the valuation, and ultimately you have to dig out the behavior of the purchaser also. If it is an aspect of amalgamation, the persons, the in the books of transferor or in the books of transferee, we do the journal entries, but the transferor must understand how the company who is going to acquire me, how they behave. So if you have number of companies, those who are willing to acquire your company, acquisition is to be there, how they are behaving to your valuation, after which merger will happen. So the response of your buyer is also important. You need to dig out, you need to draw some research. This is what is the FIMIX. So information and classification criteria is the only criteria and scientific criteria to divide the individual's psychology and the psyche. Assumption. What is assumption? Because first we need to understand the theory and then practical has to be done. What is the assumption? They divide the people into subpopulations. They divide the people into subpopulations, and the overall population is divided on the basis of some source. Okay, that source is response. We decompose the subpopulation with the help of finite mixture approach. Finite mixture approach is that understanding unobserved behavior of the respondents to my questions, to my particular variables, to the company's valuation, to the company's product feature, to the job satisfaction, to the HR policies of the company. If somebody is willing to leave the organization, what was his response? Why he left the organization? You have to record the response, why people left the company and why they were not satisfied from the company. So job satisfaction research or employee turnover research needs to be done with a finite mixture approach, where the people, those who are leaving, they also can be divided into subpopulation. Okay, some people might not be given recognition despite having good salary, no recognition. I mean, these are the people, those who are leaving you. So you have to dig out this cluster based upon their response that I was not given due recognition, therefore I'm leaving the organization. People will not say on the open face of yourself that I was not happy with your management because they never recognized me. They will not say this thing, but their response will say this thing. We have to capture this response, and that is the data which will tell us, that is the source which has to be identified, which has to be dig out from you. So finite mixture assumes that all variables has some distribution. Every cluster is important. Every cluster has some distribution. Which distribution? Look at this normal distribution. I guess some people might be familiar to the normal distribution curves. So if I say the mixture distribution, now this mixture distribution is of two types. Look at the curve. I mean, if I have to draw this curve, let us say this was the curve. This was the curve for overall data. Just a minute. This is the curve for overall data, overall response. This was overall response. And let us say you have collected data from 500 respondents. You have collected data for 500 respondents. But even out of this thing, you have to understand there are these people are different, these people are different. So this is one, and this might be another group. The normal distribution for group number 1 and the normal distribution for group number 2 might be different. So we are going to identify the response behavior, the overall mixture, into segment specific distribution behavior of the respondents. Now overall is divided into two aspects, but we have to see cluster number one and cluster number two, the segment specific distributions we are going to identify. So let us now start this activity. I will start the activity by a particular model. We have to understand that what we are going to do. Then I will share the data and I will share the PPT to you so that today you can work on this data and understand the behavior. The data is given for telecommunication companies. Okay, telecommunication companies. The data which I will be sharing with you is on telecommunication companies, and the data is of 344 respondents. In telecommunication company, there are two things. Service type. Service type is of two types. Either I am selling prepaid SIM or I am selling postpaid SIM. This is what happens in the market. The SIM card is of two types, prepaid SIM and postpaid SIM. This is observed heterogeneity. We know that there is a prepaid SIM card and we know there is a postpaid SIM card and both are different. So this is observed heterogeneity. We are not digging into observed heterogeneity. Observed is over. But we are digging how the respondents are responding, how the respondents are behaving, how they are behaving on the, you can say, telecommunication company. So the variables are customer loyalty, whether the consumers of my telecommunication companies are loyal to me. It is dependent upon, it is dependent upon a variable called as customer satisfaction. If customers are satisfied, if customers are satisfied, they will be a loyal customers. Number two, if the competency of the product is there, if the competency of the product is there, if my company is competent enough, this will lead to customer satisfaction. And if the product has the competency like iPhone or a company like Airtel, okay, and the SIM connection of Airtel in iPhone, then you can say my consumers are loyal consumers, right? The another variable is likability. What is likability? I like my company. In India, you must have seen some people like Bata shoes like anything. They will not buy any other product. They will only go for Bata products. Some people are fond of Tata. They will always go for Tata company, Tata watch, Tata car, Tata salt. They will always go because they think that they like the company. So if the persons like the company, they are satisfied consumers. And sometimes I like my company so much that I will be a loyal consumers. So the another variable is what is the quality of the product? What is the quality of the product? Let me just come back. If the quality of the product is good, it will lead to my competency, it will lead to likability of my company. If the performance of the company is good, if the company's product is performing, it may add to the competency, it may add to the likability. The another variable is CSR. I know that I have to do CSR. With good CSR, I may lead to likability of my company, and I think my company is competent also. That is why they are earning profit, and out of that profit, they are spending 2% of the average net profit of the last 3 years into CSR. CSR to be done if you earn profit. So if you are earning profit, you are competent company. Okay, the last variable is attractiveness. Sometimes the companies are very attractive like Reliance Jio. Okay, Vodafone Idea tries to be attractive, but after merger. Okay, Airtel was always an attractive company to see. I sometimes are fascinated and attracted to a company like BlackBerry or Raymond's. I always am fascinated by the product of Raymond's. So if I like that I am being attractive, my company is attractive, it may lead to the competence of the company, and I like the company because the company is attractive and its products are attractive. Berger Paints, Asian Paints. So anywhere, any company, any domain, you can understand that this is the general models. They are the general models which are prepared in structural equational model, and they are based upon good literature view and the theory. The theory support is required that quality leads to competence and quality leads to likability. Who said this thing? Research paper said this thing, backed by some theory of quality. So loyalties are to be determined. I want to see how these 344 people are responding to these variables. Okay. So my topic of interest is not to find out R square of loyalty. It is not which I am looking for R square. I am looking for how these 344 people are giving response to competency, giving response to satisfaction, giving response to likability, and giving response to customer loyalty. How they are responding. Their response will be the keyword to divide these 344 people. My objective is to divide these 344 people. Okay, objective must be clear. Some people confuse exploratory factor analysis with cluster. Exploratory factor analysis means how the statements are clubbed. But here in physics or in K-means, the respondents are clubbed. Okay, there is, let me just open another paint brush so that I can write. My objective is what? My objective is that out of 344 people, there must be some segments. There must be some segments. There must be some segments. And these segments are like how people are responding. And this response is homogeneous. This response is homogeneous response. I guess everybody understands what is homogeneity. Homogeneity is clear now? What is homogeneity?
Yes, sir.
I mean, within a particular segment, people behave similarly. Within a particular segment, people behave similarly, but between the segments, they behave differently. Okay? Within the segment, they behave similar response is there. But between the segments, different responses recorded. So therefore, I am going to split 344 on the basis of variables. Okay. So today, after this workshop, somebody has to mute. Today, after this workshop, I will be giving you this model. I will be giving you this model. I will give you this model. I will give you the data also. And I will give you that how to build the model. So this is the interface in which you have to work. And this interface comes with a software called as smartpls.com. Comes with a software smartpls.com. So when you will open this smartpls.com, you will realize the fact that how I mean, you have to download. This is a newer website because from today onwards, I mean, they have given us a mail that only PLS3 option is there. So you can download. I guess just a minute. Accept all. You have to download this software and only PLS3 is available. Okay. So these are free trial and these are the courses you have to download. When you will download, you will see a feature like this, that a project explorer is there, indicators are there, and you have to draw this model. So first of all, quickly, I will show you that how to create the model. You have to go to file. Just give me a second. Yes. So the step number one is when you have collected the data like this. I mean, this is the variable, and these variables are asked on Likert scale, and you have to first collect the data like this, like service provider. How many service providers are there? And what is the service type? What is the service type? Service type 1, service type 2. You have to understand service type 1 and 2. And these are the variables on CSR. These are the variables of attractiveness. These are the variable of performance. 5 statements of performance. And these are the statements for quality. 8 statements on quality. And likeness. 3 statements on likability. 3 statements on competence. And customer loyalty, 3 statements, and customer satisfaction with 1 statement. So I will share this data set with you, and we will divide this data set. I mean, this data set is of how many people? This data set is of 336 respondent. 336. Okay, last variable is 337, so n minus 1 upper there is a heading. So you will get this data set. This response will divide the people, 336 people, into groups. So first of all, we have to draw the model. Let me just tell you that how to. First of all, you have to create the project. Now I will go slightly slowly. Create a project. You have to first of all create a project. Let us say the name of the project is ATAL workshop. Okay, ATAL workshop. Okay, so West Bengal. You have to name the project, and then you will see that in the project explorer, the project is created like this: ATAL workshop West Bengal. You have to double click on the import data. When you will double click on the import data, it will ask you, where is your file? Where is your file? So you have to identify the file. Let us say, let me just go to the FDP folder, Burdwan. Okay, let me just open Fimix. I guess where is file? Okay, so we have to save as file, save as only CSV file will be imported. That is why it is not showing. You have to feed the data into Excel, and then you have to save the file into CSV format. Look at how I am converting the file into CSV format. So you have to change into CSV comma delimited. This is the option. Otherwise, you cannot import the data into Smart PNS. Smart PNS will import only and only CSV comma delimited file. So this is Fimix dataset. Fimix dataset. Okay. So I am saving as Fimix dataset. Yes. Now, if you see, I double click. Now double click on the. I know that file is into 2022. Yes. Now Fimix dataset is showing, because it will show only CSV files. I have to click on the open. Okay. And now my file will be attached into this project explorer. Now I am free to do the segmentation. Okay. So I am free to do the segmentation, and I have to double click here where my cursor is. I have to double click. The indicators will be shown in the bottom side of the data. So quickly, I am drawing the model. The first model was customer loyalty. See, select the three statements: customer loyalty 1, customer loyalty 2, customer loyalty 3. You have to simply drag and drop. Drag and drop, the construct will be created and its items will also be created. You have to right click and rename. And this name is customer loyalty. Customer loyalty, okay. So this you can right click and align to the right hand side. The next variable is customer satisfaction. This construct is called as customer satisfaction. So rename customer satisfaction. Shortcut name is there, customer satisfaction. Then the another one was competence. You select the three statements of competence and put it here. Competence, align top and rename. This is competence. Competence. Okay. So customer loyalty, customer satisfaction, competence is there. The next one is likability. Likability and align bottom. In the align bottom, rename. This is likability. And you will see this recording, you will see how I am creating. And then you have to do one by one. Let us say the CSR. Select the 5 statements together and drop it here and rename. This is corporate social responsibility. Shortcut name, corporate social responsibility. Let it be here. Then the another one was attractiveness. If the company is attractive, it will lead to the competence, and just put it here, rename attractiveness. The life is not difficult. The life is difficult when we don't know anything. But when you know that we are going to do unobserved heterogeneity, and this is the way you have to collect the data and then you have to do mimics, then life is easy. Let us say performance. So right click and performance, okay. And then the last variable is quality. 8 statements of quality. Let me just put it here and slightly minimize. Right click, align bottom, so that every variable is adjusted. Okay, so this is rename. This is QUALITY, quality. Now my model is complete, everybody. Okay, I have to connect. Look at my cursor, connector. Competence leads to customer satisfaction. Competence leads to customer loyalty. Customer satisfaction leads to customer loyalty. Likability leads to customer satisfaction. It leads to customer loyalty. CSR build competence. CSR build the likability. Attractiveness company leads to competence. Attractiveness company leads to likability. Good performance of the product leads to competence. Performance also like my build my likability. Good quality of product builds the competence, and good quality leads to likability. So this is the one model on which response is collected. See, I am again saying response is collected, and now on this response we are going to divide the respondents. How many respondents? 336 respondents. We are going to divide 336 respondents. Are we ready? Everybody should be on the same page. Yes. Are we ready now?
Yes, please.
When you will install the Smart PLS, it is very easy. You must know how to draw the model. I have just created the project, imported the data, double click on this ATAL workshop, and this data was there. Now I can simply drag and drop and use the connector. So I will share this PPT. This PPT has got many, you can say, slides from the German book, their book, which they have trained me in Germany. So you will see that some slides are always, you can say, there with the. So number one is, this is step number one. The activity will start from slide number 16. 16. Run the Fimix procedure by considering clustering 1 to k. First of all, in Smart PLS, this is the option in calculate. This option is given because the developer, there are three developers of this software. One is Christian M. Ringel, second is Jan Michael Becker, and the third one is Marco Arstedt. So the area of segmentation is the hardcore area of Professor Marco Arstedt, and he has added this feature. This feature is not available in SPSS. This feature is not available in the previous version of Smart PLS 2, which is over now. This feature is available in RStudio. This feature is available in RStudio, and this feature is available in Smart PLS software. So these are the two softwares. It might be available in Adanco software, ADANCO, or Warp PLS, which is American software, Warp PLS. But the best software to apply finite mixture is RStudio as well as Smart PLS. So in RStudio, you need to have some commands how to run this. But this software has already inbuilt the algorithm. You have to simply run the Fimix. Okay. So when you will click on Fimix, it will ask you that how many segments, how many ideal segments should be there. Just like K-means cluster, it is asking me that how many predefined segments will be performed. So these predefined segments are to be performed with the help of G-Star Power software. Now we need to install another free software, which is G-Star Power software. Okay. So how much is the G-Star Power software? So in G-Star Power, let me just show you that how somebody can install G-Star Power. Simply open google.com. And write here G-Star Power software. Write down G-Star Power software, and you will open this website, Dusseldorf. Universität Dusseldorf. In Dusseldorf, it's a place where Professor Fall has built this software, G-Star. G-Star is a software which determines the minimum sample size. It determines the minimum sample size. So I guess it is opening. For the timing, I am going to share this link with you in the chat room. I guess chat room is enabled now. Yes. So I am pasting this link here that everybody can click on this link, and you will be able to get this website and download free this software. This software, let me just yes. So I have already installed. In the meantime, this will open. Yes. So this will be the screen. This will be the screen which will be helping you to get the minimum sample size. So how to get the minimum sample size? In G-Star Power, run on t-test linear multiple regression equation. We have to run on a family of test, t-test, in linear multiple regression. What we are dealing with linear multiple regression, and out of these power analysis we need to determine a priori. A priori is that you must see what should be the minimum sample size, and two-tailed test has to be investigated, and the alpha value level of significance should be taken at 5%, and power at 80. I'll tell you what is power of 80. Uh, this is 5%. This 5% means that every independent variable must have some 5% significance, and beta is type 2 error, alpha is type 1 error. Type 1 error means that there is a probability that the hypothesis was true but we have rejected. But beta is the hypothesis was wrong but we have included it into our data analysis. It's a fatal error. So power is 80%. 80 ka matlab, 80 means that 20% is the probability to commit the error. 20% is the power to commit the error, and whatever is the data, we are going to commit at maximum 20% type 2 error and 5% type 1 error. And number of predictors, you see that how many predictors are there. Predictors means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the main dependent variable. Predictor means independent variable. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7. This is how we have to count 7 independent variables and click on calculate. This is the sample size. This is the 159, which is the minimum sample size, where the data will be normal, red color. Look at the data will be normal at plus minus 2 standard deviation. At 5% level of significance, the critical value of t above 1.96 will be achieved with even 20% fatal error of beta. With the 20% beta and 5% two-tailed level of significance, 5%, 2.5 on the left hand side, 2.5 on the right hand side, the data will be normal at 1.96 critical t with 159. So we need this 159. Why we need 159? Because now, for example, your sample is 344. Okay, sample is 344. So you have to divide this 344 by 159. Okay, let us say the sample size was 336, I guess. 336 divided by 159. So what is the value? Calculator. Let me just open calculator.
2.11.
2.11.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2.11, which means 2. Okay. So on an average, 2 clusters are there in the Phoenix. Okay. The Phoenix is run with the help of a scientific method where t value 1.96 will be achieved. At t-test, linear multiple regression, a priori, with two-tailed test at minimum 5% worth of the independent variable in the model, and 5% we commit type 1 error, 20% we commit type 2 error with 7 predictors. This is the minimum sample size with which we have to work, and this will decide the fate of Phoenix. The K is total sample size divided by the minimum sample as determined by G star power. So 336 divided by 159 is 2.11, means 2 clusters. Now we will go to calculate Phoenix and we will put here 2. How we will put here 2? Because G star power has explained. What G star power has explained? Minimum sample size. The minimum sample size is used as the deciding the K. Total sample divided by minimum sample size by G star will give you the ideal cluster solution for running the Phoenix. So Phoenix will be run with, first of all, 2 segment at 5,000 iterations, and then stop criteria at 5, and click on start calculation. So now Phoenix will be run. In the meantime, Phoenix will be running on dividing the data into 2 clusters. We have to identify that what is next there in the. So this screenshot I have applied. This screenshot I have applied now. screenshot will tell you that go to calculate, go to Fimix. It will ask you how many number of segments has been decided. So the audience, the respondents, the researchers here, those who are listening, this arrow must be resolved. How many ideal segments? Total data set divided by minimum data set is taking you to the number of segments, and then this output will come. On the right hand side, you will get information criteria, which are the scientific method. These are the scientific method which will give you the scientific distribution of appropriate segments covering responses of the respondents, which are good way to do the segmentation. Okay, right? So the ideal number, look at the system is running one by one on repetition. 5, 6 to 10 repetitions it is going to make to divide the answer for 2 segment solutions. Okay, 2 segment solutions. Let the answer should come. The answer will come like fit indices. This will give you information criteria. Out of this information criteria, how to select the sample size, this we will cover tomorrow. Okay. So I guess we have time till 4:30, sir, or a week, sir?
Yeah, the scheduled time is till 4:15. But
4:15.
there we have some time for question answer session. You can continue.
Okay. Okay. So let the answer, let this value should come. We are now going into this information criteria. Look at this thing. This will come. In the meantime, software should run. You will get Akaika. You will get Akaika modified. You will get Akaika modified with 4 factor. You will get Bayesian information criteria. You will get consistent Akaika. You will get Hannan-Quinn, maximum distribution, log likelihood. And these are the information criteria on the basis of which you will decide appropriate number of segments. So G star has given us 2 segment solutions. 2 segment solutions. So ideal number suggested was 2, but I guess this is coming. No, it is not still coming. It is calculating. So you have to compare this ideal 2 segment solution with minimum 1, 3, 4, 5. You can lead to 1 to 5 also. So 5 times you have to run Fimix. Ideally, 5 times you have to run the Fimix. But since the G star has given us 2 clusters, so we will run the Fimix twice. Once with 1 cluster and second with second cluster. If the value is 2 to 3 clusters, you can run thrice the Fimix. 1 cluster solution, 2 cluster solution, and 3 cluster solution. If this K gives you 4, then you run Fimix 4 times. If this K is 5, you run this value 5 times. So this K is most important, and K is decided by the G star power like this. You have to apply t-test, linear, priori, 2-tailed, 5%, 20% type 2 error, and number of predictors researchers are aware of how to count the independent variables, and then press the calculate. This is the minimum sample size, which is the denominator, and the formula will be the sample size divided by sample size, and you will get sometimes the sample size is 22. Sometimes the sample size minimum is 22. You can understand you have to run 16 times.
No, sir. I am so sorry for the interference, sir.
Yes,
So 700 divided by 159 maybe 4 point something, sir. So we have to classify the data into 4 segments. I am right, sir. 700 700 by 159. Maybe
700 divided by 159 is how much?
4.3 something. 4.30.
4.3.
1 minute, sir, please. I have
4.4025.
4.40. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
700 divided by 159. 4.40. Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So 4.40 means how many times Fimix will be run? means
Oh.
5 times
5 times. Okay, sir. Okay.
Phoenix will be run. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So 4 to 5.
4 to
Ideally
5.
5. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you,
So
sir.
this is the answer. So K is going to be the first offshoot of this Phoenix. That how many times? So I have run, look at now this. I have run the Phoenix on 2 because our formula gave us 336 divided by 159 is 2.1. So 2 clusters and preferably 3 clusters. So you are supposed to run 3 times Phoenix, and then you will have to record the information criteria. Where these information criteria will come, this information criteria is going to come. Look at this arrow. This is fit indices. Fit indices. So that is why I have applied a screenshot that one times, 2 times, 3 cluster. So you will run maximum 3 in our case. So the output has come. So click on this fit indices. These are the information criteria which you have to copy and paste into Excel. Okay, all this data you have to copy and paste, and these data, these information criteria are for 2 clusters. So prepare an Excel where information criteria will be written and the values will be given for 2 segments. Since our answer is 3, so we will run it again with now Phoenix 3. Here we will run it on 3. Okay, right? So again it will give you some value, record it and paste it. So I assume that we are saving some time. If the 3 was the cluster solution, so you record the information criteria for segment 1, you record the information criteria for segment 2, you record the information criteria for segment 3, but don't go for 4 and 5. Okay, this 5 I have run on another data set, and then you have to decide upon how many. So I am hiding this. So on the basis of 3 segment solution, you have to decide scientifically with the help of these information criteria that which is the ideal number of cluster solution according to Phoenix for my data set. Okay, so first of all, run the software 3 times, record the values like this, and now we have to understand what these criteria are actually meaning. Okay, now these are the determining the number of clusters according to Phoenix. The information criteria are going to help you. Okay, this is what is important. A KAIKA information criteria heavily overestimates the correct number of segments. A KAIKA was modified with factor number 3. We must learn what is factor number 3 also. It gives fair to good estimation. All these observations are coming from the book of PLSM, advanced book. And there it is their observations. Consistent KAIKA gives good estimation. A KAIKA with factor number 4 gives you good estimation. At times it overestimates. Bayesian information criteria underestimates the segments, but it is sometimes good. MDL method is a weak method. It underestimates. So the MDL is called as the lower limit, and a KAIKA information is called as the upper limit. Lower limit and upper limit. You see that in control charts, if somebody is aware of control charts, there is called as lower control limit and upper control limit. LCL and UCL, upper control limit and lower control limit. So this is MDL 5 and this is a KAIKA, simple KAIKA information criteria, between which ideal number of Phoenix solutions are there. ideal number of Fimix segments are there. So the first task of the researcher is to record the information criteria, and you must see that Akaika is the upper bound and MDL is the lower bound. Lower bound. Minimum description length. MDL is minimum description length. Minimum description length means that this is the minimum segments with which we cannot go below which, and Akaika is the highly overestimated formula beyond which we will not go for factor solutions, below which, beyond which, between the two we are going to have the solution. Okay, so now how to see? This is going to tell you slightly the more information. Akaika is the upper limit, MDL is the lower limit. First of all, the researchers has to see Akaika 3 and consistent Akaika. Okay, this is the decision criteria which is coming from the research paper. The research paper of Fimix. There are few papers which I will share with you. The first paper was written in Fimix, identifying and treating unobserved heterogeneity with Fimix PLS part 1. Therefore, today's lecture's name is part 1. We will have to only listen to the information criteria and how to run Fimix. Part 1. Then you have to read part 2. In part 1, in 2016, they have explained all these criteria, and these decision criteria is coming from part 1 of the paper. That the researcher must know lower limit and the upper limit. Okay, and then you have to see appropriate solution. Appropriate solution like Akaika 3 and consistent Akaika. These two values has to be seen together. If their minimum value, if the minimum value is same in the cluster, you will get the final answer. If their minimum value, if the minimum value is in the same cluster, minimum value, we have to see the minimum value is found to be in the same cluster, then choose the final cluster, and this is the final answer. Okay, otherwise, else Akaika 4 and Bayesian has to be seen. If they are found to be same in the particular cluster, that is the answer. But if we fail to see from this solution or this solution, then we have to check entropy criteria, which has to be above 50. So there are three things everybody must understand. That first of all, decide the K and run the Fimix 3 times. If the K was giving you a hint to run 3, 2.16 means 3, go to higher side. 2.11 means not 2, 2.11 should be taken as 3. Run the Fimix 3 times. This Akaika will give you the higher limit, upper limit, and minimum distance length, description length will be the lower limit and upper limit. For example, let me just unhide. For example, look at this value, Akaika. 2847, 2777, 2740, 2740, 2732. Out of these 5 values, the least value is what? 2732? Can everybody see?
Yes.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I am writing here, you have to see minimum value, MINIMUN, minimum value. See always the minimum value. In the first line, the minimum value, I have turned it into green, 2732. This is the upper limit. And Akaika gives the overestimation of the segmentation. So it gives you that there cannot be 6 solutions. There cannot be 6 clusters. There can be maximum 5 segments. Look at MDS. MDL. 3308 is the least value out of 5 segments. So this is the lower limit. It means at least one segment will be there, but maximum 5 segment can be there. So ideal solution can be between 1 and 5. This is what theory says. Decide the upper limit, decide the lower limit. And this is the table which will go into research paper. Because our target is to divide appropriate number of solution on the basis of scientific method of Akaika, Bayesian, consistent, Hannan-Quinn and entropy method. So first is the lower limit and the upper limit, which tells you. Then you have to see Akaika 3 and consistent. Now please see this thing. Akaika 3 is least in segment number 3. Akaika 3 is least in segment number 3, but consistent is least in segment number 1. Isn't it? I'm repeating. You have to see Akaika 3 and consistent together. They must be minimum in the same segment together. Okay. But when we saw this data, Akaika 3 was minimum in segment number 3 and consistent was minimum in segment number 1. So it is not giving us meaningful segment. They has to be together minimum in one segment. So this criteria is failed. Look at the next. They say if they are not found minimum in same segment, then you see Akaika 4 and Bayesian. Then you have to see Akaika 4 and Bayesian. Look at this thing. Akaika 4 is minimum in segment number 3. Akaika 4 is minimum in segment number 3, but Bayesian is minimum in segment number 2. Is it a good sign or a bad sign?
Again, it's not telling.
It is not telling. Absolutely right.
So we have to move on to the next.
We have to move on to the next criteria. So the next criteria is entropy. Entropy should be more than 50%. So entropy is 0.43. So at least 2 solutions are never going to be the final answer, because entropy is less than 50 in segment 1 and segment 2. So segment 1 and segment 2 are gone out of the picture. What is left? Segment 3, segment 4, segment 5. Okay. So entropy is starting at 63 at segment 3. And final decision is taken where the Hannan-Quinn, Akaika 3 and Akaika 4 are the minimum and the least. So out of segment number 3, segment number 4, segment number 5, nobody is least in segment number 4. But 3 things are minimum in segment number 3 and the entropy is more than 50%. Therefore, it is suggested that the unobserved heterogeneity is there, the responses of the respondents are there, and there are 3 types of responses which exist in the data. Okay, this is what has been found in the thesis of Professor Marco. Okay, this is the only table which will go into Phoenix table. Rest is theory. You have to explain. So whatever papers you will read, 54 papers I will share, you will find that they are talking about the scientific method. So scientific method has been decoded like this. You bring your data, find the K, and the K is 5, then run the Phoenix 5 times, copy the data and paste it like this, draw the minimum from MDL, draw the maximum from Akaika, and then you see Akaika 3 and consistent together. Akaika 3 and consistent together. Together they must be least in a particular segment. If they are not, shift to Akaika 4 and Bayesian. If they are, answer is there. If they are not, look at the entropy. Entropy should be higher than 50. Out of 50, where is the Hannan-Quinn? At least with Akaika and other criteria. Where the maximum least are there, select that particular segment solution. This is what segment solution is there. Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, the fact that you are saying that in segment 3 there is unobserved heterogeneity. So how do we locate what
Now,
kind of heterogeneity is
what
there
time?
within that?
Absolutely true. Now you see. So first of all, 3 is clear now. How to settle at 3?
Absolutely.
Now we have to divide our entire data into 3 segments. Okay. This was the data response. This was the data for 344 people. This is the data now. Their response is given like a particular manner or in a particular fashion. We have to divide this behavior into 3 fashions. And how do we do? This I have make another screenshot here. Yes. When you know, that there are 3 segment solutions, and this is the way we have done. Okay, I have pasted this entire Excel into this PPT. When you know that we have settled for 3 segments, then you have to go to the software. You have to go to the software and you have to finally run it on Pimix. With 3 segment solutions. Okay, at stop criteria at 5, just up and down you have to do, then start calculation will come. You have to now save the feature. You have to click on the save option. When you will save in Smart PLS, Smart PLS will club the cluster number 1 according to their response. It will club the classification for response for cluster number 2 and cluster number 3. The response, the style of responses across these variables like these, whatever response has been given, it is given in a 3 particular fashion. That fashion will be divided by the software. That if somebody thinks that quality is good, then competency will be good, then I will be loyal. Those people who think from the quality perspective, they will be clubbed together. Those who think that CSR must be there and I must like the company, only then I will be loyal, these kind of persons will be clubbed together. The people, those who think that no, performance should be there, performance and quality should be there, only then I will be a satisfied customer, then I will be loyal, these kind of people will be clubbed together. This is what the response will be divided into. The behavior of the respondents on these patterns, on these variables will be done. Right, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, understood.
I can buy a product. I can buy a product according to my choice. So there are other people also, those who think like me. So you have to decide according to my response pattern. And these are decided by us. Right now we have decided that there are 3 response patterns. Because entropy is more than 50 and they are the 3 values are minimum and other criteria have failed badly. So we have to settle for 3 segments. That means there are 3 styles of people. There are 3 responses of the people in your data set. And this is scientific. This is not like Amy's. This is what is acceptable in the world, and people would definitely publish your paper if you are writing on the segmentation of the respondents on unobserved heterogeneity, which is the 5th type of segmentation in the market. So I guess it is still working on the repetition number 9. Let it run on repetition number 10. Then we will tell you how to save the data. I have given it in the PPT also that you have to save. Okay. Just let the answer should come. It is going into 10th repetition. So in 10th repetition, the data will be there and we need to only save. So today we will only save the 3 styles and the fashion, and tomorrow we will move ahead of this prediction orientation segmentation. So now the data is finished. Please see that this is segment number 1, this is segment number 2, this is segment number 3. The behavior of segment number 1 is different in segment number 2, in segment number 3. Let us say we are going to see competence. Look at competence. If the company is attractive, the competence, the variable is 363. That means segment number 1 kind of people think that company must be attractive. Segment number 2 never thinks. They inversely think about attractiveness to competence. Segment number 3, they are highly inversely related to attractiveness leading to competence. That means the behavior of segment number 1 is different, segment 2 is different, segment 3 is different. I have to customize my policy according to segment number 1 who thinks company should be attractive, but my policy will fail on segment number 2 and segment number 3. Okay. So if I say performance, these people also likes performance, 471. Segment number 2 don't like performance much. Segment number 3 likes performance highest. So for somebody, performance matters. Somebody, attractiveness matters. If you wish to list to competence. So this is how you have to divide the people. And your question is very appropriately that how software will divide. Software has identified the response pattern, that how some people think performance. Look at this thing. I'm clubbing now. This segment number 1, they are performance and attractiveness oriented people towards competence. Segment number 2, they are quality oriented people. Segment number 3, they are quality oriented people. More quality they like. 913 is higher than 469. Whereas segment number 1, they are less quality conscious. They are performance oriented people. So look at my cursor, and in the final results, segment assignment. Now you will assign the segment and discrete segment. This is the table which you have to copy. Excel format, copy. Look at this case ID. Respondent number 1 will go into first cluster. Respondent number 6 will go into second cluster. Respondent number 85 will go into third cluster. Respondent number 86 will go into third cluster. Now it is fine, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes. I was wondering how to take out these people and how to recognize them. Thank you, sir.
Yes, because this is there in segment assignment. In segment assignment, discrete segment assignment means that individually you must be thrown into your respective clusters. You have to copy and you have to then paste into the original data set in the end like this. Okay, you have to paste it here. Phoenix segmentation, that respondent number so and so will fall into second group. Respondent number so and so will fall into second group. Respondent number 16 will fall into group number 1. This is what segmentation is. Response based. Okay. So with these words, I will, I guess this will be enough today, because now you have to read the content also. I will share number 1, the data set. I will share the model. You must see the presentation methodologically one by one. Go to this, and I will share this Excel also with 5 clusters, because I have written actually many of the workshop with this Excel. We show that how to identify the appropriate number of clusters. And in the PPT, I have given this screenshot also, how to divide the individuals into cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, and then come out with the ideal policy solution. You have to give policy makers some food of thought. That think like this. Don't think like one suit fits all. Right? So Abhik sir, your mic is
Yeah. So am I audible now?
Yes, now you're audible.
Yes. Wonderful session. So I'm sure I'm already receiving responses in WhatsApp that they are already eager to work further. So they are looking for tomorrow's class. So definitely we are looking forward to tomorrow's class. Thank you, Dr. Shiva, for making it so simple and interesting for all the participants. And I'm sure that with this, more scholars and more teachers, more faculty members will be interested in using these advanced tools and making Indian research standard, taking it ahead, which we are lacking at the global level to a great extent. And I wish that this is something which I have understood from your past lectures, and I also feel very strongly that this is where we will have to play a big role, because our generation of teachers is the first generation who are getting mass access to these things. Our preceding generation teachers who were before the internet era or the early stages of internet era, they didn't get this access that much. But thanks to people like you that we are getting access to and getting to know this, and definitely we will ensure, I'm sure my colleagues, our colleagues in other institutes, universities will take this forward through their scholars, through their own research work, and we will get enriched. So thank you very much. So let us have a question answer session after tomorrow's class. I prefer that. Okay. Because today we are standing midway. Midway. Let us just understand the steps. You have easily explained the steps. And those who are not very conversant with cluster analysis, even they should get today evening time to revise that.
They can get rid of SPSS.
They can get rid of SPSS, exactly. So thank you again. So you send me in my email the necessary things. I will definitely forward it to the participants.
For sure. It's
okay. Yeah. So thank you very much. So we are ending this session now, and thank you participants for
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your excellent